As we have already discussed, understanding requirements goes with 4 different aspects. The first 2 things we have already discussed in the previous video sessions. Now we will be continuing with eliciting requirements and developing use cases. Requirement elicitation is also called as requirement gathering. So here we are going to combine the elements of the previous approaches, that is problem solving, elaboration, negotiation and specification. We'll be combining everything to form a very good well-defined requirements. So this is done by 6 different aspects, namely collaborative requirement gathering, quality function deployment, usage scenarios, elicitation work products, agile requirement elicitation, service-oriented methods. First, we'll be going to understand how to achieve in a collaborative requirement gathering. So to do this, we used to conduct meetings. So either in a real or a virtual platform, that is online meeting, we used to conduct meetings by means of software engineers and also other stakeholders. So rules for such meetings will be prepared and also the participation rules will be established. So here a formal agenda is suggested that covers all important points, and also this particular meeting encourages free flow of ideas. So anybody can answer any particular point. There is no restrictions over here. To coordinate such meeting, we have a facilitator who controls the entire meeting. And finally, all these documents, that is the meeting points, will be defined, will be written in a definition mechanism. That is, it can be a worksheet, flip cards, wall stickers, electronic bulletin board, or even chat room or even virtual platform. Anything can be used to document all the points discussed in this particular meeting. The next aspect is called as quality function deployment. So QFD is a quality management technique which is going to translate the needs of a user, that is customer, into a technical requirement of a software. So all the needs are now converted as a technical requirement based on the quality perspective. So we are going to classify the requirements which is given by the user into 3 different categories. One is called as normal requirement. So these are functional, that is fundamental objectives and goals. So functionally, to make this particular software operative, these are main functions which should be addressed. Next is expected requirements. So these are implicit, that is hidden requirements, which is not explicitly stated by the customer, but it is understood that these requirements should be present in the given software. And third one is called as exciting requirements. So these goes beyond the customer expectations. So a customer will be extremely happy if these particular requirements are addressed. Next is called as usage scenarios. So as we have already discussed, usage scenarios is going to give or produce the particular requirement in a systematic way. So developers and users can create a set of scenarios which are used to explain more about the functionality of the software. Here it is also called as use cases, which is used to provide a description of how the system will be used. The next is called as elicitation work products. So what are the work products that are obtained during this particular elicitation? First one is a statement of need and feasibility. Next is a bounded statement of the overall scope which the particular product is going to satisfy. And third is a list of customers, users and the stakeholders who are involved in the particular requirement elicitation process. And finally, a description of the system's technical environment. And a list of requirements, this is what we are going to address actually. And sixth one is a set of usage scenarios which is used to help to achieve such particular requirement. And finally, as a 7th mechanism, if there is any prototype developed, that is also can be documented. So these are the final work product which are obtained as an output of this requirement understanding process. Next mechanism is that we can get by means of agile format also. So agility is a type of software development methodology where the team will be quickly responding to the end users. So it may be a quick team or it may be a dynamic team which is always accepting the changes. So such particular dynamic team, young team is called as an agile. So in agile based requirement elicitation, we used to get the requirements by asking all the stakeholders to create the user stories. So here stories will describe the complete system requirement which is written in a user's perspective. Such particular stories are written in a small note cards. It's nothing but a card which is used to, which can be rearranged whenever it is required. And users can use their own language in the note cards. They need not be technical. They need not go for the some constraint based languages. Any languages can be used. But the main drawback in this particular set of agile requirement elicitation is that the business goals and non-functional requirements are not considered over here. So again, rework is required in order to get the non-functional requirements such as performance and security issues. The next approach is called as service-oriented methods. So service-oriented methods views a system as an aggregation of services. So meaning as it's a collection of services. Example, it may be a simple system. For example, online dollar to rupee converter or rupee to dollar converter. Else it can be an aggregation of a complex system. For example, a complete web service application program interface. These methods will emphasize understanding the customer, thinking creatively and building solutions quickly. So these are the main motto of this particular service-oriented methods. This includes ethnographic studies. Ethnographic studies means a study of the user behavior, how a user will behave with a given situation. So such type of studies will also be included to have service-oriented methods. And innovation workshops can be organized, and early low fidelity prototypes can be used. So low fidelity prototypes are nothing but the prototypes which is low in reliability. We cannot as such believe the particular prototype being in an early stage. They can be simply used to gather the requirements. The last approach is called as developing use cases. So use cases are called as usage scenarios. Use cases will contain two different perspectives. One is called as actors and the one is called as use cases. So students, we will be covering about this use case diagram in detail in your second unit. So your second lab exercise is again developing this use case diagram. So in this session, we will be having a very gist of what is use cases. So here it contains two different parameters. One is actors and the one is use cases. Actors represent the roles that people or any device which plays in the system. For example, it can be a customer, a shipping company, a database server, a payment gateway, etc. It can be either a people or a devices as well. Next thing is use case. Use case represents the functionalities of a system. For example, place order, cancel order, etc. Now we are in need to draw a diagram which contains both actors and use cases along with the relationship between these two perspectives. So here is an example of a sample use case diagram. So you can see we have actors which is represented by a stickman icon. So here we have customer, shipping company, dispatcher, like which. Here we can also have devices as well. And then use cases, that is functionalities, are represented by means of an oval symbol. For example, place order, cancel order, check order status, send catalog, etc. Now we will be having a communication relationship between the particular customer who has a role in the particular activity called as place order. So shipping company doesn't have a link between place order, so there is no relationship between these two. So such particular collection of actors, use cases and their relationship is called as use case diagram. So by this we come to the end of this particular session. So to summarize, understanding requirements is a 4-step activity which contains requirements engineering, which is a 7-step process, and then establishing a groundwork where we used to understand the basic requirements in order to form a well-defined requirement engineering process, and next followed by eliciting requirements by combining all the requirements gathered in the previous approach, and finally developing use cases, that is a systematic way of representing the requirements. The contents are referred from the book cited here. Thank you for your patient listening.